Oh, what was the first video? The first video I saw with you was your girlfriend giving you that legendary.
Oh, her giving one to me.
Oh yeah,
Was
wasn't
it the
that?
other? No, I gave her
Oh,
one
it was the
first.
other way around. Yeah, you're
Yeah, and then
right.
she gave one to me like 6 months later on Valentine's Day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember her crying. That was
Yeah,
freaking.
yeah. That kind of kick-started my channel. You know,
And
like it
that's
started off
surprise.
really slow and then I uploaded that and that kind of got viral on the subreddit.
Oh really?
And yeah, that basically set me off because I got a lot of subs from that and stuff. So, well, a lot, for me it was a lot.
It has this like I'm not going to call it shock value, but it's really like different from what you've ever seen. Like I'd never seen anything like it, and to this day I still haven't. It was cute, like for lack of a
Yeah,
better
yeah.
word.
The thing is that when I had the idea, I had never made a legendary before. I wasn't particularly rich or anything.
Yeah,
So I was really like, I want to do this, but am I going to be able to pull it off? And
yeah.
then she had exams and stuff, and she wasn't online a lot, so I could just farm a lot. Like I never farmed and never did any PvE. I was just a role player. So like if I suddenly started farming, then she knew something was gonna be up. I was up to something. So I took my chance while she was offline for exams, and then I started like playing, and then I got pretty close with materials, and people started helping me. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go for it, and I did it. And I was actually pretty proud of myself that I managed to make a legendary while I'd never made a legendary. But yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Nice.
We've broken up now, though, but that's beside the
Oh, all
point.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that's a weird story to bring up then. What's up, guys? Deroir here, and with me in the comfortable chair today is Mr. Wubdor. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So I brought you here for specific reasons because you are in a completely different genre of this game that both of us play, but I have never ever experienced what you usually do, or at least what I'm aware that you do.
It's a pretty small community that I'm in, so like compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah. So you're a role player. You consider
Yep.
yourself a role player?
Yep. Role
Like
playing.
how how does that work?
Well, like you start off by just thinking of playing a part in the world. Basically, what I see it like you're a mix between being a writer and an actor, right? Like you're taking part in like a book, like an interactive book with other people. Like
Yeah.
you play one character in the story, and everybody else plays a character, and you're just gonna have to improvise on what everybody else does towards you. And you make up a backstory for your character, whatever you want to do, as long as it's within the lore. Like, don't play a pregnant Sylvari or a 50-year-old Sylvari because that's like,
That
that's not
can't
following the
happen.
lore. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you have to stick within the lore, and then you can just make up everything you want. Like the backstory, age, where they come from, stuff like that, and then where they live, even live in the world. Like you can be in Divinity's Reach, where most people are, but my character, for example, lives in the Shiver Peaks, and that's just where she is. So I can't just be all around the world wherever I want to be. Like if I want to go in character to roleplay, then I have to be where my character would be, right? And then I just
So
go in
like
character.
to get to like when you say you're in the Shiver Peaks and you're in character, you have to like walk everywhere?
That's up to me. I can decide my character's running, right?
All right,
But
all
it
right.
like when I
Yeah.
do PvE, when I do like leveling or in Maguma Jungle, I'm not in character, right?
Yeah.
Like anything that I do in game, that's not in character until I decide I go in character and decide I'm gonna roleplay. And
Ah, all right, all right, all right.
so like a lot of people seem to think that when you're a role player, you have to roleplay all the time, whatever you do, and you do a dungeon and you're
That
always in
was sort of
character.
my
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
that's not the case. Like you can if you want, obviously, but that's not really how it works. It's just, yeah, I'm gonna roleplay now, so I'm gonna go in character. I'm gonna go where my character would be now, and then I'm gonna go pretend that I'm that character.
Interesting. So
And
what?
the thing is that I live in the Shiver Peaks in character then, right? And I'm with a guild. And like the Shiver Peaks is like deserted, with like there's no role players there. Like if you're gonna walk around in the Shiver Peaks, you're not gonna run into a role player. So that's why I'm in a guild in the Shiver Peaks, because otherwise you won't be running into any role players at all.
So your entire guild is in the Shiver Peaks.
Well, we're a Shiver Peaks based mercenary guild, yeah. So it's Norn themed. It's just that my character is a Solvari and happens to be with them, but they're mostly Norn and they live in the Shiver Peaks.
All
And
right.
like if you want random roleplay just with people you've never met before and you want to walk around and run into role players, then you're really gonna have to go to the one of the role-playing hubs, which is Divinity's Reach. If you want some casual roleplay, walking around and stuff and just interacting with people and kind of like learn their stories, then you're gonna have to go to like the big hubs where people will be. which is
So,
Divinity's Reach.
but you prefer Shiver Peaks. You prefer playing with your guilds.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I used to be in Divinity's Reach a lot, and then something happened in character, right? Like something happened to my character, and she decided to leave Divinity's Reach, and she was like, "Oh, you know what? I know some people from this Magpie mercenary band. I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna ask if I can join because I've got nowhere else to go." And she went, and now she's been there for like almost 3 years. So that's basically how it works. Like you decide what your character would do, not necessarily what you would do. You could play a racist, you know. You can role play a psychopath who kills people and stuff.
So,
and
like, what's to stop you from, like, not necessarily being immortal, but being whatever you want? Like, are there rules?
There is some common courtesy and there are some rules. Like, you know, you have to stick within the lore for one. So you can't just say like, yeah, I'm an immortal human, because that's not really a thing. And also you have to keep in mind that you're not the only one. Like, it's not all about you, right? So if you want to kill someone, you can't just decide to kill someone else's character. Like, that's not how it works. If you want to kill someone, then you either need their consent. Now, if you're gonna ask someone like, "Hey, can I kill your character?" Like, they're always gonna tell you no, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But a lot of people, like, for example, they play criminals, right? And they do a lot of stuff that have consequences. And they're like, "Yeah, like I'm willing to injure people, but I'm also willing to have other people kill my character." So they actively play killable characters because they're criminals or whatever, and they accept the consequences of being a criminal. So if I would walk up to them with a legitimate reason and like pull out a pistol and shoot them in the head, then the character is dead. And it's common courtesy that I let them know, like, yo, you know, I'm gonna walk up to you and my character is going to attack your character, because it's kind of weird if you just walk up to them like out of nowhere and you never met them before and you're gonna shoot them, you know? Yeah. Like, obviously they're gonna ignore you then, because if someone would walk up to my character and start shooting her with a pistol, like there's no way I could ever avoid that, like the death basically, then I'm gonna ignore him. Like, I'm gonna tell him like, yo, you know, what's up with that? Like, just tell me and ask me like if that's okay. If they want to attack me or rob me or mug me or whatever, then it's fine as long as my character doesn't like get killed without my consent. But it's like there's just common courtesy. Like, you just let people know what you're planning to do. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a bit selfish.
I've seen this in different like cities or whatever, where people do the /me and then type whatever. Mm-hmm. Is that just how you communicate, or is it?
Well, you're talking normal /s as well.
Oh, right.
That's where you do talking basically, and then you do emotes in /e. You know, you can just like if you do /e or /me, you do make your custom emote, and you can do whatever you want. You can just describe what your character is doing as if it's a book, right? Some people are really intricate with that and make super long emotes, and other people are just really basic and quickly type something so you know what that character's doing, like sipping their drink, or, you know, maybe they walk with a limp and they emote that as you walk past, and you can. That's kind of like a way to pull people into interacting with you. Like, you walk past them and your character is crying, then you quickly emote that your character is crying, and that might trigger that other person to ask like, yo, what's up? Can I help you with something or whatever, you know?
So what kind of role player are you? Like, are you the narrator? Are you the writer, so to speak? Do you form your own book, like just in chat, or?
Well, the thing is that you just play your character within the world, and some people are like specific storytellers. You know, they aren't even there in character. Their character just stands there and narrates, or not necessarily narrates. Like, I've done that as a joke, like a character that's like physically stands there talking as if he's the narrator of Bastion, like narrating other people. And people look at him like, what the hell's up with that dude, you know? But like, some people actually do stand there as kind of like a game master, like, you know, in a role-playing game, like a game master. They decide like, yeah, there's enemies now and we can roll for combat and stuff like that. That's usually in a planned event where people actually sign up, like, yeah, I want to go there, and then everybody knows where to come at what time and stuff. But I'm just, you know, walking around. And
also, it's like to form a grand narrative for everyone to partake in, or
yeah, exactly. Like, you know, you have random roleplay when you walk around in an RP hub or whatever, and it's just casual roleplay. But there's also events. Like, my guild is really big on events. So like, we have great officers who always, like, every week there's at least 1 or 2 events. And like, they just make up, like, we're mercenaries then, and they just make up jobs. Like, you know, they make up random NPCs that don't actually exist in the lore. We just make them up, and they hire us to do jobs. And then they basically are the game masters, and they decide what the event is about. And the event is going to change according to what we do. Like, we walk in there into a cave with a lot of dredge or whatever, you know, they took some hostages. We're gonna have to solve that, and it can end badly, where people get injured, maybe the hostages die or whatever. Like, that depends entirely on how we deal with the event. And they are the game master. They decide like, yeah, this is what the enemy does now. How do you react to that? And then you can emote out what you do. And sometimes there's rolling. If you do combat and you have to roll above 50, then like if you roll below
like
50, your attack fails, right? And above it, then your attack succeeds.
with dice?
Yeah, we just I used to roleplay in WoW, and there you actually have the roll command, right? You
Yeah.
can actually slash roll and you roll from 1 to 100.
Right.
In Guild Wars, that's not the case. So you just have to go to rolls.org or whatever. It's just a dice rolling website with like whatever dice you want. And you just use that. And then the game master lets you know like, yeah, I rolled 60 for you, your attack is successful. And then you can emote out the actual successful attack and you can, kill something or, whatever you want to do. Like whatever you want to do, it's successful and you roleplay that out.
I mean, this sounds very intricate, like much more intricate than I actually thought it would
it's much
be.
more detailed,
like,
yeah.
How did you even get into this? Like how does one get into it?
I'm fairly like I always knew of the idea because I used to play like WoW from vanilla and I always like knew of role-playing servers, and then my friends explained to me you have to be in character and stuff. That never really attracted me. Like I was always like, okay, fair enough, it's not really for me, And as a kid, I may have made fun of them when I was really young.
I mean, I remember doing that as well. Like,
yeah, but it was just such a weird thing to me. I'd never heard of it. Like, I was never into role-playing games as a kid. I never grew up with that stuff. I was the kind of kid that played football outside and didn't really play a lot of games. I played the occasional, like, Soldier of Fortune, Counter-Strike, stuff like that, but nothing like role-playing games. I wasn't a nerdy kid, per se. So when I got into WoW, I turned into that nerd, and I was like, role-playing, what the hell? What is that about? And then I went from WoW to other MMOs and stuff like that. And I never really gave it a thought until I met some people who were role players and they became really close friends. And they were like, yeah, there's a new game coming out, Guild Wars 2, like pre-order it so you get into beta. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll just do that then. It looks cool. And they started role playing and I was just sitting there like, okay, what do I do when you guys are role playing? So I just watched them do it and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool, I do want to be a writer, by the way, so that kind of like is an extra interest because you want a backstory for your character.
Definitely.
So I just made up a backstory for my character and I tried role-playing in the very first Guild Wars 2 like big event. It was in Lion's Arch on the beach and stuff. And there are still people around from that event where people just got to know each other because it was like Guild Wars 2 had just come out like 2 days before then. And I was just standing there and I still see people in the game today that I saw back then in that event, so that's really cool. But I was just trying it out and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's really just friends that got me into it. And I basically stuck with it. Like, if it wasn't for roleplay, I probably would have quit Guild Wars by now. And that's not because I disliked the game, but that's because I started Guild Wars as a role player.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't start playing Guild Wars 2 for the PvE or the content or whatever. Like, the first thing I did full time was role-playing in Guild Wars 2. Like, once I got to know it, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I did nothing but role-playing. The first, 2 months, I wasn't even level 80 because I was only role-playing. And, if I hadn't been role-playing, then I would have probably gotten bored because I didn't know anyone and stuff.
I mean,
and
yeah,
now,
it's like,
I know so many people because of role-playing.
Yeah, it's like content within content. Like,
you make your own content, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The thing is, there are so many MMOs where people say there's no content, there's nothing to do, and they're right. Like, often there's actually no content. Like, Guild Wars 2 went to a drought for a very long time.
Yeah.
That was not a problem for me because I was a roleplayer. I just made my own content. I made my own fun,
Makes sense.
And, the best thing is that you meet a lot of great people. Like, some of my best friends I met on Guild Wars 2. Like, I've met them multiple times over the course of, like, the last 3.5 years. I mean, I met my girlfriend through it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can definitely imagine because myself, I've met a lot of people that I interact with regularly, like also outside of the game, like good friends that I made through the game. But I can't even begin to imagine like creating a story together and like how that bonds people.
That's the cool thing about it. Like, you start off and you see a character walking around you've never seen before, right? They have a name and it's like, oh, I don't know that character. And sometimes you see the account and it's like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I know he's a role player, But you just see a character walk around and it's like, oh, I'm just going to see what their story is. I'm just going to interact with them. I can think of anything I want. And a lot of people find that awkward or scary when they don't know people and they're a new role player. Like, how do I approach this person without, like, I don't have a reason to approach them. How do I get into that? But it can be as simple as like asking them if they've seen your wallet. I lost my wallet. Have you seen it? And then you go on a search together and stuff, and that's how you meet people. And it's really cool to find out their backstory.
You mentioned earlier that the community that you are in is very small. Like, how large is the community? Like you say you can meet people here and there that you know, but like how large is the role-playing community? I know
I'm
I've
afraid.
heard that there are like websites. I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
actually seen it,
Yeah,
but
there's the website guildwars2roleplayers.com because we don't have official role-playing servers or forums or anything.
yeah.
So that's basically where people post their character biographies, role-playing events, just getting in touch with people, Q&A stuff, and also just really lore information for people and guides, of course.
Yeah.
Like it's really just one big fan website of role players where everybody gets to meet each other, and not literally everyone is on there, but I would say 98% is on there. And like for the people who aren't on there, they will at least have 10 friends who are on there. So they are always in the loop and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how you get in touch with other people. That's how you know where the events are. There are even threads like, where to meet for roleplay. Like there's, I am currently role-playing, and then you can tell, yeah, I'm role-playing in this area. And then people can go there in case their character is there as well. Because like I said, like Divinity's Reach is really the role-playing hub. And that's where most people are. So if you're going to walk around in Kessex Hills, you're not going to run into a role player. You know?
What is there a specific reason? Like I've heard that Divinity's Reach is a hub for role players. I've seen a lot of role players there. But is there a specific reason? Is it just because it's an interesting city? Because
It's
I mean,
because most role players are humans. Most people play humans, and then you play in the capital. It's usually like you see it in other MMOs. It's usually the human capital that gets the most role players. Stormwind in World of Warcraft is the RP hub as well. It's just people flock to the capital city, I guess.
Is it the human female meta that's taking over role playing as well, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, you do see quite a lot of human females, but you see plenty of male characters and stuff as well. Like you definitely see a female human the most, but you can also go to Radasum and you see a lot of Asura role players there. You know, it's just that it's that community within a community. Like all the Asura role players who are in Radasum, they are either in a guild together or they know each other. There's like an allied guild and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
that makes sense.
So they can like it's not always people there in Radasum or the Grove. The Grove is deserted, by the way, but there are like
really
there are people who like hang around in these cities, and then it's like a really small community within that community that know each other and they role play together.
Nobody but you wants to be a Sylvari or what? A Sylvari.
Sylvari are actually quite popular, yeah. Like,
but nobody wants to be in the Grove.
That's kind of a shame because I love the Grove. I would roleplay there all the time if I could, but you know, there's no one there for some reason. There are a lot of French role players, I think, in the Grove, but
all right.
We used to have an event in the Grove every Tuesday where people, like all Sylvari and everyone who wants, but it was usually Sylvari, would come to the Grove for like a weekly meetup and just, you know, casual roleplay. And you've got the same in Holbrak. On every Monday, there's a moot there with like Norn and stuff, and everybody joins.
That's
and
cool.
then there was one on Tuesday for Sylvari, and then on Thursday there was in Radasum, and yet all these days of the week where they have like casual roleplay events where people can come. But that kind of died off, I think. Only the Holbrak on Monday is still going, and the rest kind of died off, I think. But
that's a shame.
Yeah, you really can just do whatever you want. You know, you make a character, a background, whatever you find interesting, as long as it's within the lore, and you just play a part in the world. And that doesn't mean you're always in character. It's just you roleplay whenever you want, and you do PvE or PvP whenever you want.
I have a very curious question, I guess, because you say there's forums and guilds and communities and all of that, but like for a long time, ArenaNet never did anything for the role-playing community until the LFG update.
Well,
Has that actually done anything?
No, nothing.
It hasn't done anything.
No, ArenaNet has never supported role players, and they never will. And they kind of mask it by saying, yeah, we do like role players and we love role players, but at the same time, they implement features that completely ruin the role play scene.
How so?
The mega servers destroyed roleplay for a few weeks. Because like we used to be on Pike and Square. That's the unofficial role-playing service. We don't even have an official tag. We have to choose as a community where to go. So if there's new players who don't know about this website, they have no idea where to go, you know? There's like role players like, yeah, I want to play Guild Wars 2. Yeah. Where do I go? But we don't even need like actual support. We just need that role-playing tag on the server so people know where to go. Now, this mega server thing kind of solved it because it doesn't really matter anymore. But at the same time, it scattered people all over because it's unreliable. Yeah. Like people who are on Pike and Square together are thrown in different servers or different shards, whatever you want to call them. And like you can't be sure that you're in the right shard. So you're walking around in Divinity's Reach and you're like, there's no one here. Am I in the right shard? or is it just a really quiet time at the moment? And you can't be sure. Now we made a collective role playing guild where a lot of role play, like 500 role players in there, and obviously some people are inactive, but that helps a bit because you can ask like, hey, I'm in the right chart. You do /IP and you see which one you're in. But what if it's in the middle of the night? Like some people are still role playing, but you can't be sure if you're in the right chart because you don't see anyone and you can't ask anyone.
But isn't the LFG supposed to exactly help this?
Well, now it is, but over the last 2 years we didn't have that.
True.
And I have to admit, over the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't been playing much Guild Wars 2 because obviously, like I told you, girlfriend breakup and stuff. So I didn't really have, I wasn't really in the mood for roleplay or anything. So I haven't really seen if it's actually used that much. But it's not really relevant to me because I don't roleplay in Divinity's Reach. You know, I roleplay in the Shiver Peaks with my guild.
Yeah, true.
So that's more relevant to me. But like the first, like you just saw it right away when this stuff was implemented. You saw they're looking for groupthing and immediately you're looking for ERP and stuff. People just trolling, you know? And that's kind of the danger because if you implement this looking for groupthing and you say, can we, like, I'm going to make a role-playing group. I'm going to say I'm in Divinity's Reach at this spot or whatever. A lot of people might flock to that place just to troll you, like non-role players. And I asked this during a Q&A with like the ArenaNet developers, and I was like, you know, you might implement this, but how are we gonna avoid the trolls? You know, this will attract people to troll you, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to deal with that yourself. It's like, okay, fair enough. Well, that's so much for role-playing support, you know.
So nobody really wants to use it because there's the
risk
chance.
Yeah, there's the risk. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure if people actually do use it, but that's the first thing people brought up when they announced it. Like they're people are gonna attract trolls with this kind of stuff.
And I mean, it seems like an obvious like use for it. Trolls will just flood that thing.
Yeah,
which
like
is why I was really curious if it was actually
a lot of trolls in roleplay.
Good for anything.
No, the thing is that it has good intentions. It's just that I'm not sure if it works.
You see a lot of trolls, like just generally.
Yeah, like people who are like, oh, roleplayers, I'm gonna go and mess with them, and we've learned as a guild when we're in the Shiver Peaks and we see a PvEer and they just jump around and do spells or dance or wave or just ask what we're doing. It really helps telling them like, yeah, we're just role-playing, and they're like, okay, cool, and they run off. Like 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, and then they run off. And sometimes they're even really nice about it, like, oh, yeah, cool, and then they kind of observe for a little bit. But you sometimes get that person who becomes really rude and really like obnoxious and spamming spells and stuff. It helps to just ignore them. Like they go away after a time, obviously. We've learned as the roleplay community that we just learn to ignore them now. Nobody really pays them attention anymore. But at the start, obviously, people are gonna like react back, like, dude, fuck off, stop ruining a roleplay, and that's only gonna trigger them even more. So
yeah,
it really helps to being nice. Like I've learned that on YouTube as well. Like people who reacted to my giving away a legendary video, when they left like very mean comments and stuff, and I replied to them, they immediately said like, oh, sorry, like, oh, sorry, yeah, I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. And like people might really look rude at the start, but once you actually interact with them, they suddenly turn into this really nice person and they just leave you alone. So, but still, there is the occasional troll that's really annoying, and you can't really do anything about it. Yeah. And that's the thing, like you don't have official roleplay support, so you can't report. Well, you can report them obviously, but there's no guarantee something's going to be done about it.
There's no guarantee that it'll even be done when they're teleporting all over the map, apparently. Yeah. So there's that.
Well, yeah, like the most they can do is just spam chat, well then you ignore them or block them or whatever, and then you can report them for spam, and that's it. And then just jump around for a bit and they'll leave within 3 minutes. So it's not really that big of a deal. You can use the looking for group tool, and if you get one troll, fair enough, that's fine. But what if you attract 10 people, and then you've got 10 people spamming around, and that really breaks your immersion. Yeah. Like you're in character there, interacting with someone, and there's just some random tools jumping around, spamming like mesmer portals and shit. So
I can imagine how annoying that is. Like trolls in general,
Yeah. Well, like I've never like publicly made fun of role players. Like I would never troll them. Like even as a kid, I wouldn't do it. But I still thought they were kind of
even when you thought they were sort of weird.
I wouldn't troll them, but apparently other people are more impulsive when it comes to that kind of stuff. They see them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna troll them, or they think they're unique and they're like original by standing on a table and dancing. Yeah. But literally everyone does that. Like everyone who sees us like jumps onto the table in the middle of us and starts dancing and stuff. And they think like, yeah, I'm funny, like I've got this new thing to troll them, but like everyone does it. Like we've seen it. So.
But in reality, everyone should just be allowed to play the game how they want to.
True, like they are.
But then again, like, okay, I know that sort of gave a chance to the trolls there, but That wasn't what I intended.
I have reported trolls in the past through the official like support ticket, like not just right-clicking their name, but actually making a ticket about it, and I've seen them disappear.
Oh, really?
Like it has helped before. Like there was this one person who kept showing up on role-playing hubs and spamming like really obnoxious stuff and really like sexist stuff and racist stuff and whatever. And I actually made a ticket about him. Like, yeah, this guy's trolling us, and like within a day he disappeared. It was like it's gone. And I don't know if he was banned or whatever, or he got a warning, but like he stopped. Like, so it did actually work. Now I like to think it was my ticket that did it. Like, you never know, of course.
The power of the ticket.
Yeah, like yeah, but you know, you never know. But like I do like when they spam or they're really obnoxious, then I just report them for spam or language or whatever. But like if they are like continuously obnoxious and constantly come back to troll you, then I will make an actual ticket about it. And sometimes it helps, I guess.
Well, that was super interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting to just get this quick dive into role playing. Like just
it just gives so much more depth to the world and your character.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I've been playing the same character for like since launch basically. September 10th is my character's birthday. I know that from the name. She's a Sylvari. Like she's a Sylvari. I started playing her on her actual day that she came from the tree, like actually awakened. And she is 3.5 years old now, and she has become such an important character to me in the game now that she's become a person in my head, you know, like she's an actual person in my head now, like actually come to care about her and stuff. And it just gives you so much more depth to the game and the world because you look at it like way differently. Like say you play a character, you make a new character, right? And you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna like make an elementalist. Like usually you play an elementalist and you throw around fireballs.
Yeah.
But once you start role-playing, you start to wonder, but how does that even work? What would it feel like to throw a fireball? And if you'd have to explain to someone how to summon a fireball, how would you explain it? And it's those little things that you start to think about, and it gives it way more depth to the game.
It totally creates this extreme immersion into not just the character, but also the world and like how everything works.
You start to think about the races, you know, like the ages and stuff, and the entire background of the race, and it makes it super more interesting. And then you see a Norn in the Grove, like an NPC. And you start to wonder, like, oh, I wonder what that Norn is even doing here. Like, why would he come to the Grove, you know?
That's a long way.
Little things. Yeah, it's really cool. So, and then, of course, there's the living world. Like, when the Pale Tree is attacked, you know, by the Shadow of the Dragon, I play a Sylvari, like, my character...
Oh, you react to that?
Yeah, yeah, you react to that
Obviously,
stuff. And,
yeah, all right.
Like,
yeah, well, that makes sense.
Like, spoiler alert, Mordramoth is dead, of course, right? And do our characters know that yet? We haven't really had contact with people in Maguma Jungle, so my character is a Sylvari, so she knows, like, the presence of Mordramoth is gone. Like, she knows something is up. Something happened, his presence is no longer there. He was whispering in her head, which is really cool to play out, by the way, because I was just role-playing, and suddenly my character falls to her knees because Mordramoth was in her head and stuff like that, you know?
It's a different way to look at the lore. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You have to look at it from the character's perspective, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the story suddenly becomes way more intensive, because it's suddenly you're like, oh, you know, where do we go from here? Like Mordramoth, there's a fight between like the Pact and Mordramoth. How do we react to that? Are we joining them even? You know, we've been to Maguma, we fought Mordram and stuff, and it's all really interesting because we went to Maguma. Like I went on the Sylvari, and then Mordramoth like almost took her mind over, basically. And there was one GM who basically like we had a whole group with Sylvari in one squad. And then the game master was the leader of that squad, and he decided, or she decided where, when Mordramoth was talking to the Sylvari, so we could all react to the same thing at the same time. And then all the people who weren't Sylvari just saw us react to the same thing, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's going on?" You know, like Mordramoth is taking them over, and they didn't know.
Very curious.
They probably knew we were in the squad because we kind of said like all Sylvari in the squad, but like it was really cool to play out. Like, yeah, the GM said like, okay, Mordramoth is now whispering this now, or screaming this now, or trying to take you over, and you see all the Sylvari emote at the same time that something is going on with Mordramoth in their head and stuff. That makes it really cool.
Wow.
So like the living world becomes...
That seems very grand scale, yeah.
So it's cool.
That's very cool. So to conclude this, where can people follow your work? Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, Wubdor is my online name. You can find me with that everywhere. So Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. I don't really stream. I might in the future, but I'm not really... I don't really have anything planned. So for now, it's just Guild Wars, and I'm trying to branch out on YouTube. But yeah, I'm gonna have to see what I'll do. I'm playing a lot of Overwatch now, so maybe I'll just do something with that. Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and follow.
Follow me
all the
wherever
links.
my thing is, my links are, and I haven't been really making a lot of videos lately because I've been kind of uninspired and I'm running out of ideas when it comes to Guild Wars 2 because there's no story or anything, you know, I can't do anything, so I'm gonna have to wait until we get some big update and I can start making Guild Wars 2 content again, but yeah.
I know that feeling all too well, man.
Well, you've been uploading a lot.
Well, I try. I try. Anyways, thank you for joining me, Mr.
Thank you
Wubdor.
very much for having me.
Go ahead and follow him, guys, and till next time, we'll see you around. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.